After getting caught up on episode 8 and episode 9 of the Aquatope on White Sand, I'm definitely getting a clear picture on what the grandfather's plans are, as well as getting a little more clear picture on what's going on with this whole idea of Kukuru and her sister. So these are my thoughts on episode 8 and episode 9, so let's jump right into it. Episode 8 seemed to be themed around this concept that Karen has been working for quite a long time in order to get some sort of traveling aquarium set up to go into this pediatric care place in this hospital. And after several times of her submitting this, you kind of get this clear picture of her, determination in order to help out the aquarium itself. Well, they finally accept it, but on one term. One of the nurses there says, absolutely no crabs. Actually, no, she said no C words, or K words, I guess is more of a proper pronunciation in Japan. But yeah, it was really goofy. Apparently, she's had some kind of issue with crabs in the past. And of course, a crab has to somehow end up in one of the cages or one of the tanks as they bring it in. But yeah, that was kind of a goofy little restriction that they had. And it was cute to see that this was all basically, while the idea itself was Umiyan's, which is the big fellow inside the aquarium, it was actually his idea to do it. It was Karen who really made it happen because she pushed so much that they finally accepted it. And what was really great about Umiyan's story was that the reason why he wanted to do it so badly was that there was this one girl that visited on a weekly basis to the aquarium, and she was always looking after this one fish. She wanted this one type of fish to be there. And they were still doing a lot of testing to make sure that it was going to be able to, transfer into the environment of the aquarium. And unfortunately, when they finally did get it, she stopped coming. And then after some while, he ends up finding out that she was at this hospital. So this is why he was pushing so hard to get this event to happen. And like I said, Karen, having a lot of love for the place and a lot of memories of the place, definitely wanted to make it happen as well. As you kind of find out that even though there's this conversation that unfortunately unfolds in front of Kukuru that, with everybody seeing that there's all this doom and gloom about the aquarium, they kind of wanted to, finally allow it as kind of a... almost seemed like pity on the place itself. And Karen's like, I don't want the place to fall. I actually really do love the place. I have a lot of memories there. And you kind of find out that Karen actually does have this, she used to have a strong desire to be one of the attendants at an aquarium. This is one of her dreams that she used to have, but unfortunately, her parents wanted her to get a stable job, and that's why she ended up going into what she's gone into. And so she definitely does look up to Kukuru and how she's able to do it. I mean, she's kind of jealous of that. So yeah, it was really funny the entire episode having this crab like constantly glooming in the background. Finally, Fuka actually notices it and it ends up escaping, and this lady constantly has this feeling that it has to be there. And yeah, eventually when this little girl, Uehara, by the way, don't look up her name on Google. I make an outline, so I always have all these images of characters, and I went to look for an image for this little girl, Uehara Ari, and don't Google that name. Anyways, she, apparently when they first arrived there and set up, she finally shows up because she didn't want to talk to Umiyan for some reason. She finally shows up, but then she flees. She's in a wheelchair. She flees from the place, and Umiyan goes after her. But this doctor, this nurse that actually was... taking care of her, ends up having this crab claw on her. And she freaks out, but the girl grabs it and really likes it, and that's what actually kind of brings her in. It kind of gave this impression that this Uehara girl that, really wanted to see this Garufa, she was really excited to see this fish, but it seems as if she was so excited to go there, but eventually when she, fell ill, she kind of lost hope in things. It's what kind of the impression that it gives, that she kind of lost hope in things. And so to just kind of get past that initial barrier of her kind of being upset about everything and finally kind of coming into this room with all the fish and everything, she kind of breaks away from that. And in the end, she makes another promise. She doesn't make Umiya make a promise, which the promise was to get this fish, but she makes a promise that one day she will get better and that she will go to the aquarium, which... Obviously, Yumiyan is a little bit upset about hearing that because this place is going to be closing soon, and so she won't be able to fulfill that wish because it won't be there anymore. So at least it's giving this perspective that, it seems like every single one of these episodes is kind of taking turns going to each one of the characters and having them show why this place means a lot to them. Obviously, overall, it's their job and everything, and they want to. There's a simple fact that they do appreciate the fish and they love what they do, but it's given these solidified reasons. With Umiyan, he wants to have this wish fulfilled for this girl. With each one of these characters, they have this reason why they want to do with it. Kuya, this was the place that he found solace in, and he found a joy in, an escape that it means a lot to him. So each one of them, it's kind of taking their turns, learning about the past, people that have connection with their families there. So it's cool to get that perspective from him, and I'm sure we'll get more going forward. Episode 9 gets a little more tension-filled as we find out again that there's going to be this aquarium that's opening up in the city center. And this is kind of another death knell into Goma Goma as, they're facing this competition that's coming into play. And not only that, but the old director, the grandfather, decides to allow them to, because this center city aquarium essentially is sending out their employees before it gets built into different other aquariums to train. And the grandfather has accepted to have one of theirs come to their aquarium. And this is obviously a little bit troubling to Kukuru because this is the enemy. How dare you? Can't bring the enemy in here. And so Kukuru is kind of forced to have to train this girl who eventually will become part of a bigger aquarium in the city center that will probably bleed even more out of their aquarium, even if they survive the rest of the year. And while I could say this girl is kind of a snot, Kukuru kind of started it, so I can't really blame her too much. As Kukuru is obviously very combative, and she's obviously trying to test her and prove that it's not that easy of a job. This Chiyo girl is very smart. She does know what she's doing. She cuts up things very well. She knows what all the foods are for. And even though it seems like Kukuru's trying to test her, it's not swaying her. She's not throwing her off at all. This girl knows what she's doing. And you'll find out later why that is, but yeah, they have this whole moment where they go to do the penguins, and she's like, oh yeah, go on up there, and she thinks that the penguin's gonna bite her, but she's like, no, it's fine, I'll go up here and I'll step back a little bit, and she's like, so they're a little bit nervous and they peck at people that they're not used to, just like Kukuru. Oh, it was a good one. That was a good comeback. But yeah, then they do some penguin walking, and the entire time Kukuru and this Chiyo girl is kind of just glaring at each other, and Fuka's up at the front going, and all the kids walk together with a smile. I absolutely loved it. It was really good. And then, of course, you have Kuya over there just kind of suffering because, obviously, too many cute girls around him. He can't handle it. So basically, two things really came from this into episode. One, the main focus for majority of it is this concept of the grandpa, the old director. And they kind of established this idea that she came there excited. This trainee came there excited because she was like, this is a rundown place. Why am I going there? And the guy's like, the director there is a legend. This director, the old director, the grandfather, he's a legend. He was known for traveling around the world and all these other aquariums. He was very knowledgeable, and he would actually help other aquariums survive with his unique information, all the unique fish that he's raised. He's well known for that as well. Fish that most places don't have just because they're difficult to actually adapt into the environment. He's a legend in this regard. And so she is excited about being trained by this guy. Like, oh man, they just talked him up, and I get to train under this guy. This guy's saved aquariums. He's fantastic. I want to be trained by him, but she's being trained by Kukuru instead, this high schooler. And she's very upset about that. And eventually she does talk the grandfather into training her. And the grandfather's like, Kukuru, is this okay? And she's like, yeah, I don't care. And they start walking around, and she's all excited. She got her pen and paper, and she's all excited. Like, yeah, this director's going to train me. But all he does is walk around and talk to people. And these people that he's talking to aren't even looking at the fish. And there's these old ladies that are cleaning the floor for him. And she doesn't understand. She's like, this is a waste of time. This isn't teaching me anything. And at some point, Kukuru's like mentioning the idea that he's teaching about things that aren't just about the fish. He's teaching important things. But she doesn't accept that. She eventually goes to her boss and says, get me out of here. Take me to another aquarium. This is a waste of time. They have a high schooler training me, and this other guy just goes around and talks to people. He's not doing anything. So the guy eventually accepts it and is going to transfer her out, so she goes to leave. And it was really interesting because after this whole thing, Fuka goes walking around, and she starts talking to the kids and talking to all these people. Like, okay, there's these kids here. Why are they just sitting here playing cards? They're not even looking at the fish. Well, you come to find out, it's because they know all the fish. They know everything in there. They've already learned it all. They have annual passes, and they come there to hang out. But they've been instilled the knowledge of this aquarium. They know about everything in there. This other lady walks up and tells them, "Oh no, that's not the correct fish. That's over here. They moved it to the other tank." Oh really? Wow. They know about everything in there. They have been instilled this knowledge that this obviously the grandfather probably did for them. And I think this is where you kind of get a sense of why the grandfather's so special. It's not just about the aquarium. It's about the community. It's about instilling knowledge to people, helping them out, learning about these things. It's not just about fill the tank with water and put a fish in it. Not about what kind of environment is best for this fish. That girl will find that out in her books. That's not the important stuff. It's the experience. It's the non-book smart stuff that he was trying to instill in her, but she didn't want to listen. And I guess the follow-up to this aspect is at the very end, after the girl leaves, this Chiyu girl leaves, we have this brief moment where Kukuru decides that she's not going to go home to get food. She tells Fuka, tell him don't worry about me. I got to go somewhere. And she goes and travels to this huge aquarium that's at the city center. And it's still being constructed, so I'm kind of curious what that's about. She just goes there to look at it, I guess, to see what's being built to, I guess, to solidify it. Well, we did have this brief moment where the grandfather and the grandmother are talking to Fuka and Kukuru, and they're kind of talking about how, she needs to help them train. Grandma kind of notes the idea that, you don't really have much knowledge about other aquariums, do you? The grandfather used to travel to all these aquariums, so he knew these people. It's important to forge these relationships and to kind of share knowledge between these aquariums to kind of work together. It basically instilling this idea to Kukuru that you're not enemies of each other. You have to work together. And the grandfather did that really well. He went around and helped out a lot of these aquariums because he had this other passion about it. So there's this kind of a sense of almost Kukuru tarnishing their rep. And we have this little brief moment where Fuka and Kukuru are talking together, and Fuka tells her, you're kind of mean. You're kind of acting bad. You're kind of tarnishing the reputation of this place. And this is we get a little brief moment where Kukuru is. They have a little discussion, then Kukuru kind of opens up again to Fuka and the idea that she asks if she can basically call her big sister. And, not really knowing why she would do that, she's like, well, she says there's some cherished things in our family altar drawer. And one of them is a maternity book. And she points out the fact that there's this extra maternity book, which technically signifies that she possibly had a sister. And this kind of goes, again, back to my theory on the idea that this kind of yearning, her constantly bringing up the sister, and this vision that she had of this other person in the tank with her and her mother and father, and this vision that she had was her sister. Now, what I thought about at that time when she's seen this vision was that this was going to be another sister of hers that she doesn't know about that's possibly somewhere else that she'll eventually find. But now, honestly, it's got to be a child that was never born or a child that maybe passed away. Because what do they always... I mean, it was even in this episode where they point out, this kid said, I like this place, or Fuka was asking the kids, well, what do you like about this place that no other place has? And this one kid said, oh, that was at one time where I seen my dog that had passed away. Every time they see somebody, it's somebody that has passed away. So if she's seen this sister, that sister's probably not alive. That sister's probably passed away, but she's just going to learn about this sister. And I think it was in the form of an older sister just because of her yearning for an older sister. So I think that maternity book is going to be one of those things where, I think a lot of people are probably, I think we've seen some comments in my videos about it possibly being an unborn child. Like her mother was pregnant, and when they unfortunately passed away, her sister went with them. But it still that created that yearning that she has for that sister that unfortunately never came to be. Now, granted, it would have been a younger sister, it wouldn't have been an older sister, but I think the fact that she's seen her in that vision means that the sister's not alive. It could be. I mean, she could be alive, but it seems like every time they do see a vision of somebody, it's always somebody that's passed away. So I think it is definitely solidifying that with this episode. My thoughts that it was probably hinting very heavily on her having a sister has definitely pretty much been confirmed at this point. I forgot to get into it, but I technically do think that Chiyu was right in this episode, that she does she does have a reason for being frustrated. And she definitely expresses that to Kukuru when she goes to leave. Like, you don't realize that I worked really hard. I went through this college class, and I've worked really hard to get the position that I got. She says the window of opportunities for these positions is very narrow. And a lot of people don't get jobs. There's very few jobs in these aquariums. Like, I think she mentioned, like, there's being 100 aquariums, and so these positions are very limited. And she worked very hard to get the position of this new aquarium that they have. So to come there, she felt disrespected. Like, she came there and she's being trained by a high schooler, and she didn't see anything in this grandfather. And so I don't think that she's a bad person. And I think that's a really great thing about the storytelling in this series so far is even when they present somebody who seems like a villain, like any other story, you'd bring a character like this and they'd be a total snot, and they would prove that they're the upstarts in the big city, and you're a bunch of country bumpkins, and you guys don't know what you're doing, and this is a wrecked up place. No, it's really presenting the idea that this girl worked really hard to get that one position that was available to her, and now she feels like this could cost her. Like, this training could cost her. Like, this is an important thing to her. And if she feels like she's wasting her time, that's not good. And so I don't hold any grudge against this character, even though, again, she's supposed to be a villainous character, but their way they're telling this character's story is you agree with it, and I think that's fantastic. Now, my last thing to discuss is the grandfather. I think episode 9 has definitely solidified this idea that the grandfather has this plan. I don't think this is all about the grandfather shutting things down against his, granddaughter's wishes. I think he really is pushing her. I don't think this aquarium is just failing for the sake of failing. They've already proven that he's worked very hard to help so many other aquariums survive. He has what it takes to make this aquarium survive. But why isn't he doing it? He's letting this aquarium fail to force her to fix it. If he just fixes it himself, he's going to continue to have to work there and continue to have to save it for Kukuru. He's not going to be around for forever. So I think they specifically in this episode has lined this thing up to, he's a genius. He's saved so many other aquariums, and the reason why he's not saving this aquarium is because he wants his granddaughter to do it. Because his granddaughter at some point is going to have to hold it. She's going to have to be the one to keep it alive, and he can't be around forever. So I think it's going to be very much clear to us as we get into the later episodes that he's a mastermind. He really knows what he's doing. He's not just letting this thing sink. But at the same time, he does it seems like now he could either be doing it to push her further and push her harder. The reason why he's actually seeking out places to adopt these fish is because I think there is probably a realist side of him that believes that she may give up, and that he loves these things enough that he doesn't want them to just die if she gives up. He still needs to find a place for them. He needs to take responsibility for them in the end if she fails to keep it alive. And I think that's going to be the turning point. That closing point is him going, okay, well, you can't do this. You're going to have to find something else. It's the weighing of family versus the thing that you've worked at, this thing that you've worked on your entire life. So it does still have a little bit of question there, but I think that's definitely something they're solidifying in episode 9 is that he's not an idiot, and there's a reason why this place is closing. And he does know how to keep it alive, but he wants Kukuru to do it. So, definitely excited for more. Fantastic episode. I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions of episode 8 and episode 9 of Aquatope on the White Sand. Definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the episodes. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button if you can. Share this video if you can. And support us on Patreon if you have a couple bucks. And y'all take care.